Hello, everybody. It's great to see you all. Please, if you're joining us, please do let us know where you're joining in from. Um, Welcome to today's live session. We are going to be talking about, very briefly, because this is going to be a start of a whole series of events. So we're going to be talking about sexual intimacy in marriage. And we've got our hosts today, and myself and my husband, my lovely husband, Gospel. So both of us will be talking about sexual intimacy in marriage. We have some guests that will be joining us briefly, and whilst before they come on, we just to give a kind of brief about what is sexual intimacy in marriage, because like I said, this is going to be a start of a whole series of conversation, a start of so many of them, because it's our anniversary month, August. So the 29th of August is our anniversary, but we decided we are going to be doing a series of events. Do you want to come in?
Yeah, we just realized that, speaking to a lot of couples in our programs, we realized that sex is an area that a lot of couples are struggling with. In fact, I was in a program where a man said he has side chicks. I don't know. Side chicks in this context means he has girlfriends or female friends, so people who satisfy him sexually aside his wife. His problem is that he's not enjoying sex in marriage.
Yes.
There are other people like that. And we felt that one of the gifts we can give to our viewers this month of August is to talk about this sex thing, because it's something people don't really talk about.
Yes.
And
yes. And I think the church is also very quiet about
yeah, for those within the religious circle, they are a bit reserved or conservative when it comes to talking about issues around sex. But it's actually a very critical thing that needs to be talked about within the context of marriage, even before people get married. You have to have a view of this thing, sex.
Yes. So we have a series of events all lined up, beginning from today, of course, which is just going to be more of the the preamble, just talking about what is sexual intimacy in marriage, just having that start of conversation. And then on the 14th we would have another guest, and then on the 21st we'll have someone else, and then the grand finale will be on the 28th of August.
In fact, you don't want to miss it, because we've got people who are seasoned experts who are going to talk about these issues, and it's going to be exclusive. Today's event is open, but those ones are going to be a bit exclusive, because we want to go in depth.
Yes.
We want to take it and say it the way it is.
It is, yes. And I just want to say, if you know someone who is going to be able to benefit from the conversations that we'll be having, please, we'll put the link below. Do put your information on there. We'll be in touch with you, giving you the information on how you can join into this event. So please, spread the word, because we need to talk about this. We need to seriously talk about this, and we're getting into the details, the nitty-gritty of these whole issues around sexual intimacy. And I want to say to our viewers as well, if you've got questions, you got something that you think we need to really touch on these things, please do, put it on the comment section. Let us know what those questions are, and we will, if we do not cover them today, we will be covering them in the sessions coming forward. To give you an idea of the topics to expect, we're going to be looking at the barriers to sexual intimacy. We're going to be talking about, what's the other topic?
We'll be looking at sexual expectation.
Exactly.
Creating that atmosphere. We need to know what people expect in marriage, when it has to do with sex.
Yes.
And finally, we'll be talking about how to satisfy your spouse.
Exactly.
Sexually.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it, because I think that we need a bit of spice, a bit of revamping in our sexual life. You think so?
Yeah. So let's get it on going.
Now, let's get into the conversation today. We have a special couple who is joining this conversation today, Chidi and her very lovely husband, Victor Acuna. So I'll be bringing them on board shortly. I'll let them introduce themselves, and there you go. Hello, Chidi. Hello, Victor.
Yay.
You are warmly welcome to today's live events.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. And congratulations to you as you on this for planning this. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Please, could you introduce yourself to our viewers? Just tell them a little bit about what you do. You know,
He's
yes,
looking at
Sharon.
me. He's looking at me, so it looks like I have to go first.
Ladies,
Okay. We are Chidi Akunna and Victor Akunna. We're coming, we wear different hats, like I like to say, and we're coming under the capacity of facilitators at the Foundation for Family Affairs. Our mission at Foundation for Family Affairs is to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And I think that kind of borders on what we'll be talking about today, because our focus are romance, intimacy, and the family.
Fantastic. And was that introduction for both of you, or was it just?
Yes, it was a both of us.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much. I can see that people are actually watching us live now on YouTube. Please, could you just let us know on the chat? Just get, let's get the conversation going. Where are you watching from? What is your expectation from today's live event? Please, if you can just post the comments now, it will be great to see what you have on your mind. So today we're going to be looking at sexual intimacy in marriage, isn't it?
yeah, I think the first place to start is to even look at how people perceive the concept of sex. I always say that sex is very good. And when I say this, some people are like, wow, how can you say sex is good? I think sex is very good because God created humanity to have that desire for sex. And
Absolutely.
it is an intrinsic part of who we are.
Yep.
And because sex is very good, is what people do within the confines of marriage.
Yes.
So when you say sex is good, from my point of view, I'm not saying sex is bad. What makes it good or bad depends on how it is done.
Mm-hmm.
So if sex is done within the boundaries of our belief, which is that sex should be done within the boundaries of marriage,
yes,
then it's very good.
Yes.
When it is now done outside of marriage, the misuse of sex is what you could say is not good. Sex in itself is wonderful.
Fantastic. Yes. So thank you all for joining us. We have people joining all the way from Port Harcourt. You're warmly welcome. And someone saying your laughter is contagious. So sex is good. And I know that anytime we talk about sex, there's a whole lot of laughter going on because people love to hear about sex.
I remember when I was in secondary school and our integrated science teacher told us that in the next class we'll be having a discussion around sex and puberty. Wow, it was lightning. Everyone was so expectant. So even for young people, they want to talk about sex.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you, viewers, for joining in, chiming in all the way from the US. We've got people from Scotland. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, thank you. And you've got a special message from someone who is a huge fan, Victor and Chidi. Someone is saying, happy anniversary to both of you. They didn't forget. So very interesting that we share our month of anniversary in August. So this is very interesting. Now, let's just talk about sexual intimacy. What exactly is sexual intimacy? So let me start by, the Akunas, please. Do you want to educate on what exactly is sexual intimacy?
Okay, I'll put forward our definition and then we'll expand on it. We consider sexual intimacy to be the state of emotional safety, which creates the ambience for deep and meaningful sexual experience. A state of emotional safety, which creates the ambience for deep and meaningful sexual experience. So at the end of the day, it matters the kind of experience we have, but what sets the tone, okay, are some of the things I've highlighted. A state of emotional safety. When I'm in that state where I can be open with him, I can share my sexual fantasies, I can share how I feel it or how I don't feel it. I can share what I am feeling at the time. I will give more examples as we go on. Okay, and then because I feel that safe emotionally, it creates an ambience where we can then have deep and meaningful sexual experience because we can explore through communication, okay, how we feel about the experience. You want to add?
Yeah, what I wanted to add was one of the worst things most women experience is when they have an idea they want to practice, and as they are practicing is their husband is looking at them in a spooky way, like, where did you learn this from? Where have you been practicing it? So a lot of women hold it in, be like, this guy, I don't know how he's going to handle this. I don't know how he's going to react. Maybe I've tried something new that I read about or I found out, and he's just been looking at me and suspicious. So most people, that's why the part of creating an emotional safety is so important. If you don't create emotional safety, people will not be vulnerable. And when people are not vulnerable, they will never be the best of themselves. And we're talking within the context of sex. There are many fantasies that people have. There are many ideas that people want to experience. But what do you do if you are living with a spouse that believes that it has to be at night, the lights have to be off, all right? And we have to do it when everything is, and it has to be missionary style. So when someone who is more creative meets someone who is rigid, it can bring a lot of friction. So it's much better if it's coming from a man to the woman most times, right? Because the man can lead. But when the woman is more adventurous and is trying to lead the man on, some women don't have very good experience with that, right? Because there is no emotional safety, and that spooky look is not a very good look.
Let me throw something in. I had an experience with a client. I practice as a solicitor, and there was this couple who were going through divorce, and they had come in for mediation. It would shock you to know that in the course of going through mediation, the man had something he could not discuss with his wife. Okay, and she had been complaining about that. What was that? She wasn't sexually satisfied. Okay, and for her, she felt, oh, he must be having it somewhere else. What she did not know, which he could not express to her, because back to what we're talking about, emotional safety, he did not feel it was emotionally safe for him to discuss that, to have that meaningful conversation with her, was that he had been diagnosed with diabetes type 2. Okay, and that was affecting his performance. So he was at that point where he was not feeling his manhood. Okay, but he couldn't be open to her, to tell her, because he felt she won't understand. Probably, beg your pardon. Probably with the way the tone that had been set in the relationship, there was no emotional safety for him to discuss that with her. So on her own part, she was thinking, he must be having it somewhere. He can't tell me he's not satisfied. You see why it's important that we have that emotional safety to be able to. So in the course of mediation, and he spilled that, she was so shocked. So it's important that couples create that safety net. Yes.
Well, I think you guys have said so much.
We can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I think you're muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you
hear us now?
Can you hear us now?
Hello?
Can you hear us? Hear us? Can you hear?
No.
We can't hear you. Oh, let us know. Please let us know if you can hear us. Sorry, just a technical glitch there.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yes, we
Yes,
can.
we can.
Oh,
Okay.
fantastic. I don't know what happened there, but it's good that we're back. So yes, carry on.
What I was actually saying is that when we talk about sexual intimacy, not just based on what you guys have said, you've said a lot when it has to do with emotional safety. Culture also has a way to put people in a box where they are not expressive. Yeah. In fact, if I will use women, when women think, well, from a cultural standpoint, it's not the best for me as a woman to express myself. And they think that's how every man expects them to behave, that becomes a problem. And I will tell you the truth, a lot of men are actually expectant, wishing that their wives could find a way to make the move. It's gonna take, I don't know what I would say it would take to stop a man from making love to the wife when the wife initiates the move. Even if you have a $1 $1 million contract to execute, and you're going for it, and your wife holds you on your jugular, if I would say, you're not going to go anywhere. In fact, you might promise that, don't worry, when I come back, we'll finish this deal. But then, because of cultural mindset, women don't have that. So the reason we are saying this is that you can actually be the one stopping the flow. You can actually make that move, to create that opportunity for that expression, that connection, physical intimacy with your spouse. And other thing I want to say is that sometimes sex may not actually create that emotional connection because there are other issues going on.
Yes, absolutely.
For the man, it will now be a physical expression. Some men feel that, well, sex is just like recreation. I'm tired, I've done a lot at work, I'm stressed out, I need to use my sexual relationship with my wife as a way to chill out or cool off.
Yeah.
But that's not good in itself. And for a woman, that doesn't work. She wants to be connected to you. If there is a problem going on that you've swept under the carpet, don't just jump on the bed and expect us to forget everything and begin to have this over the moon kind of sexual intimacy. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
I think it's also down to what they said initially in terms of their definition around safety.
Yeah.
So someone has to feel emotionally safe to be connected, to be able to express themselves in a certain way that would allow you to have that sort of intimacy or build that intimacy. And again, the thing is, it's also a process because some people started off, their relationship, they got married. And bear in mind that, some people must have had an experience before they came into the relationship, okay? So you coming in now, they have a different expectation. Or some people even came in without not knowing, what to do. Nothing. So it's like, we're going to learn on the go. So I think that there has to be a lot in terms of having that sort of safe environment to trust that other person with your emotion, with your having to express. And you did raise a crucial point around culture. So there's a lot of limiting, I don't know what to call it, belief in terms of what people, preconceived notion that people come into a relationship with. And why they come into a relationship with those preconceived notions. Yeah. Because for someone like me, I felt that, a lot of times people did say before I got married, whatever you do, just make sure you have children. So it was just on about having a child, not necessarily going into it to enjoy it. And making sure as a woman, you have to make sure that you satisfy your husband. You have to make sure that you see that side of things, make sure that he is having it all sorted. And I think that was something that's kind of came very strongly when I got married.
Yeah, but I want to say that it's a mutual thing. I see it this way.
Yes.
I'm going in there to give my best to you. So that when I give my best to you, obviously, you would reciprocate that gesture. If I go in there with the mind of, I want my wife to satisfy me, then I may miss out. I may not give you the best. And that could impact on the quality of your sexual experience.
That's true.
So Absolutely. It has to be mutual. As you're thinking, okay, for a woman, it takes a long time for you to get to that point where you are satisfied, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, so it takes a long time.
Yes.
But for a man, it could be snapshot, you're done.
Yes.
But you have to program yourself mentally, psychologically, to be able to go all the way because your motive is to satisfy your husband.
Yes, please. And for our viewers, you're watching us now. We don't want to be talking at you people because I know that there are a lot of people out there who are also married. Please, just on the chat, just tell us what you think in terms of having to build intimacy with your spouse and what that would entail for the people in a relationship. Just let us know on the chat. And if you also have questions, because like I said, this is going to be a series of events. We're going to be doing it over, 3 weeks, 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. And we're going to be going into it in depth. So please, if you have questions, if you have things or case studies that you want us to kind of, share and, look into constructively, please do put it on the chat and we will pick that up. Okay.
Yeah, before you go on, the other thing I also want to say is that this one is open. Then if you want to come into that exclusive one where we'll be saying a whole lot, there will be a form sent to you so that you can actually fill in your details and come on board starting from next week.
Yes,
carry on.
Absolutely. So please, I will be putting the information on the chat, and we would also leave it on the link on this particular live stream. So please do fill out your information and we'll be in touch with you. And I'm sure you would be in for a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful sessions. Not just one session, sessions. Okay, so we were just talking about intimacy and we're looking at culture as one of the limiting beliefs. So thank you, Victor and Chidi, you're back again. So are there other things that would limit people from enjoying levels of sexual intimacy in their relationship?
Well, there are many things, and we'd like to mention one. Sometimes trauma, the trauma people have, the experience people have when they were growing up. So if, for example, a guy or a lady was raped when they were growing up or was sexually abused, that can have a negative impact on someone's desire for sex. All right, so they may begin to, it might color their interpretation of sex very early, and that's not very healthy. And so that can impact how, whether or what they think about sex, whether they look forward to sex or not, how they engage in sex, you know, how they, you know, the experience and the expectation they have around sex, you know. So that has a lot of impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Another one is body shaming. That's a big one. Okay, especially for women. Sometimes you see this, if a woman's had a baby and she feels, oh, I've put on a lot of weight. Okay, it might impact on the experience because she would, like you were saying earlier, she would want it when the lights are out, you know, or she would feel, oh, I've got some stretch marks and I don't want him looking at me like that. She no longer feels attractive during the experience, during the act. Okay,
Absolutely.
so it impacts on the kind of experience they have. There was other one I was going to say, yes, probably during childbirth, she went through CS. Okay. Now, in two ways, the look of it, she might still be feeling, oh, does he find me attractive, with all those questions in mind. And the other part would be probably he comes to rest on it and then she feels some pain. This is why we would often say it is important that couples explore other styles, bring some creativity into the bedroom.
Another thing that may be leading to that might be sometimes the beliefs and the mindsets people have around sex. Some people have the belief around mindset that sex is only for procreation. And since we are not trying for a baby, hey, please don't touch me, I'm busy. You know, so when people have different belief systems that have not been challenged, you know, probably belief system that they picked up while they were growing up, or belief system that's, you know, they picked up from the environment or things that they learned from people. So those beliefs might be limited. There are limiting beliefs, there are empowering beliefs on different issues. So if it's a limiting belief, that might stifle their sexual experience. And sometimes when people don't enjoy it, you know, some people see sex as a chore. You know, they don't really enjoy it, right? Because maybe it causes a lot of pain, or it's not something they look forward to. Maybe, for example, a woman may just not enjoy it because the husband doesn't carry her along. The way men and women relate around sex is different, biologically speaking. All right, men are usually ready. Most men, not all, are usually ready on the spot. But a woman needs her emotion to be into it. So a woman is like a big ship. Before you can turn it, you need to keep steering and steering and steering and steering before it makes a turn. All right, so that means that for a woman, sex begins in the morning, or sex begins before the week. So if you are going to have something, you need to start it. Like there's an African proverb that says, if you want to walk on a wet ground, you need to pour water ahead of time. So it means that you need to begin to nurture and begin to support her, get her in that mental mood. All right, because for there's something we used to say that number one sexual organ is our mind. So a woman's mind needs to be engaged in it. But for a man, most times it just stops and it's not really psychological alone. It just stops at the biological. The moment there are things that the man will see, his eyes will pop open, the out of the socket, and he will get himself right there immediately. For most men, there are exceptional cases. So if you have a situation like that, whereby the man or the woman doesn't enjoy it, or they have limiting beliefs that is dirty, or they have limited belief that it's around procreation only, and since we're not trying for a baby, I don't know why,
or that it's not enjoyable.
It's not enjoyable.
Like you just have it just to have children. There's no fun in it.
Yeah.
So, which takes us back to what I was saying earlier: the creativity. You need to bring creativity into the bedroom. Let's spice it up.
So once in a while, change your bed sheets. Change the ambience, create a form of light. Dim that light, create it. Do something that will create suspense. All right. Do something that will make your spouse doesn't know what you are up to. Let him be intrigued. That's surprise. One thing, this happens to couples that have been together for a long time. There's a tendency that sex will begin to wane. Why? Because stability sometimes stifles sex. Because sex needs some form of intrigue, some form of suspense, some form of surprise. And so when you begin to have some stable relationship, if you're not careful, the intriguing or the suspense part of your relationship begin to suffer. And that's why some people begin to seek it in a different way, because they want to come alive. They want that energy. They want, I don't know the type of hair she's going to make. I don't know what she's going to wear to come into the bedroom. I don't know what she's coming. So that surprise can trigger someone, a woman or a man. Very, very important.
I like that point.
Yeah.
Hey, let's change our laundry. Let's get some spice.
Let's stop wearing some of this laundry that the guy has to unwrap like it's unwrapping, what do you call it, an onion before he gets to wear it.
Very good point. Very good point. I mean, I was just having the word ambience when you just mentioned it, but I think to add to all that you have said, it is also very important to add the smell elements, because I don't know how to emphasize this. The thing is, some people just come from work and they jump straight into bed. It doesn't work quite that way. There has to be a bit of freshening up. There has to be, and the thing, some people don't even think it's important. Why are you looking at me like that? Some people
I'm just looking at you to concur what you were saying.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we have a lot to talk about when it has to do with all the details going forward.
Yes. Yes.
But someone out there is single and the person is asking, with all the things you guys are saying, maybe I should start exploring my sexuality to become an expert in quote, so that when I now get married, I'll be able to give my wife or my husband the best of it. And we are saying, no, you have to wait until you're married. Do you guys have anything to say about that?
I will say something.
Yes,
and then
right.
you can say. I was going to say, what I just wanted to put out there was, we married as virgins. We had to learn the skill. We had to pick it up on the way. So there's no need to jump in there too soon. Okay, be patient, and it's fun when you have to learn with the other person. Okay, and in saying that, of course, there are cases where you have one spouse who is more experienced than the other. Okay, but since we're addressing the singles, shoot.
Yeah, for singles, see, one of the things that one of the reasons why people have struggles in marriage is because of money and usually sex. Not necessarily money and sex. It's their perspective and how they handle this core issue. So I understand that you might be feeling, oh, how do I learn so that I don't get and become like a novice, especially if you have never had an experience before. The thing I want to emphasize is sex is a skill. All right. If it's a skill, it means that you can be good at it, you can be bad at it. And it means that the capacity to improve is depends on you. All right. So your ability to improve, you guys can learn with each other. One of the best ways to do this is this. What usually happens to a lot of people that learn from different people, that they come to that relationship, their marriage, and they have this unrealistic expectation of their partner. And at the end of the day, there is a lot of frustration. Yeah. So when you see someone like it's a B2 trying to work with someone that is a Ferrari, that's going to be a disconnect. So the best way possible is, even if you've not learned anything, the best person to practice with is your spouse, because both of you can grow together, can share. And we like to emphasize this. If you want, this is for married couple now, if you want your spouse to have the best experience, don't think about yourself alone. Think about how to bring smile to the face of your spouse. Ask them what exactly do they want. And that's why you, as single, the moment you get into it, you can begin to ask, what do you like? What don't you like? And learn. Because what will work for Mrs. A will be different from what will work for Mrs. B. And what will work for Mr. A is different from what will work. So why learn something that you can't really practice, or so because everybody will have different preference. The way women may have similar things, but there are uniqueness for every woman on as regards sex. So what's the point of going around around the whole world and then getting to and then you find out that you have to still learn how to please her? Why? Because she's a different person.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point you made. Because when you look at human physiology, what triggers Mr. A or Miss A could be different from what triggers the other person. In fact, you need to if you look at it this way, the outside of marriage, the excitement around what you're not getting all the time could even make you feel like you're having the best of it. If I will use scriptures, the Bible says, "Stolen water tastes sweet." In a sense, it looks like that's because the scarcity of it is what creates that whatever. And then you're thinking about the guilt around it. You don't have that freedom. There is no commitment to it, because if at the end of the day the outcome of sex becomes like, if I would use a woman, like she's pregnant, are you ready to take it all the way? So you look at all of those factors that could impact on that sexual experience. The other thing I also want to say is that God designed sex as a very important element within the early stage of adjustment in marriage. It's something couples should always look out for, something that pulls them together. In fact, this is not, this is scientific now. It's been proven that the bond of sex, even without genuine love, can keep two people together for 2 years. So if you have depleted that bond before marriage, and now you're now married where there is so much responsibilities and all of those, what are you going to do? So these are some of the reasons people struggle when they are married. They can't enjoy their sex life again. And then if you've had it with so many people, I know someone many years ago, he said he wanted to try all the women. He's from Nigeria. He wanted to try all the women from all the tribes. No, it wants to try at least one woman from each tribe to know how different, weird thinking.
So that's from 36 states.
Exactly.
Even more than that, because we have different
kind of thinking. And then you all those varied experience into your marriage, and you're comparing your wife with so many other people. That's not, for me, I think it's not the best of it, because we have to give it our best shot. When you unlearn the bad things, you learn the right things and give your wife.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Can I add a point to that?
Yes, please, you can.
Yeah, the point that came to my mind, I wanted to add is sometimes, I have someone that I spoke to. That was about, I think that was 2015 or so, thereabout. So she was preparing to not preparing, she was thinking, she was she was having a chat with us. And so what happened was that, we're talking about this issue of sex. She was single at the time, and she was saying, "Oh no, I have to know if we're sexually compatible." I was trying to, convince her and make her see a reason why this might sound appealing, sexual compatible, but it's not the right direction for you to tread as a single lady. And then she went ahead. Obviously, she said, "You know what? That's what I think is the right thing." Obviously, she went ahead and did what she had to. But one thing that I was talking to her about, I said to her, anytime you indulge yourself in sex with your partner that you get married to or wherever before time, what happens is that you get to that point where you are blinded to their faults, to kiss faults. Now, everybody has faults, but we have categories of faults. We have what is called deal breakers. We have what we call negotiable and non-negotiable. There are things in your relationship that if this guy is a drug addict, no, I can't marry. If this guy is it's a swindler, swindles people, I can't marry. You have some specific things that you won't accept. But what happens is that when people indulge in sex ahead of time, they are blinded by all those faults. And so, because anytime they are together, they are no longer discussing things like, how are we going to earn money? Where are we going to live? How are we going to raise our children? What will be the code of ethics that will guide our marriage? How are we going to handle transparency? How are we going to handle in-laws? they're not discussing those meaningful and really important conversations. All they are thinking about is, hey, where do I touch you and what? And that kind of supercharges the relationship. So you get to that point where people just breeze past those crucial stages that are supposed to, because dating is about, in like an interview. I'm looking at you to know, are you the kind of person I want to travel on the journey of life? It's called life partner. You're traveling on the journey of life. Are you the kind of person that I'm going to be traveling? If I'm going to be traveling on the journey of life with someone, I want to know what you are bringing on the table. It's not, sex is not the only thing I'm going to need. I'm not going to be doing sex morning and night. We need to talk about investment. We need to talk about. So if you are not meeting and ticking most of those matrices, why will I want to just use, it's like you just have one particular metric and say, okay, this person can do this and that's all. It's like a pilot. Oh, the pilot is nice, that's all. No, you need to be able to move the plane safely from one point to point B. All right. So if you now get to that point where everything is supercharged, they're just getting involved in the sexual activity, what happens is that most times, yes, I'll go back to that. Most times people are unable to see the weaknesses in this person, and they are surprised. So this particular lady, after a while, I think about 7 years after, and she reached out to me. She forgotten that conversation we had, and she was like, "Oh, my husband is this. You know, his mother just comes in and does this, and then he doesn't even defend me. You know, and it's like this, it's like that, it's like this." And I knew that the issue why she didn't see a lot of these traits was because she was, because this is an intelligent woman. There's no how those traits will have just slipped through her hands. It was because she was blinded to them. And that's one thing we would like to also emphasize.
Wow, that's a brilliant point you have made. Sometimes for those who are religious, if you go to religious setting, they tell you don't engage in sex because if you do it, it's wrong. That's just a blanket answer. When you tell people the details of how this could impact on the quality of their relationship beyond what we hear within religious circle, that helps them to understand that they're doing themselves a favor, to be honest, because you're not going in there with baggages. It doesn't have to be that way, So thank you so much, Victor and Chidi, for that information. I've got a question here, but before I ask that question, or someone sent a question regarding issues that we are deliberating on, I want to say we are talking to young people or singles, and we are talking to married people, and we are talking about sexual intimacy. How can someone who is not married prepare himself or herself to have the best of sexual experience within marriage?
Fantastic. I like that question. Why? Because this is someone who is coming from the point of healthiness. All right. So one of the ways to do that is first, you need to get to that point where you are emotionally healthy. All right. Emotionally healthy in the sense that why is that important in the as regarding sex? Because if that's a woman, in fact, both people need to be emotionally healthy. Sex should not be something that you have to feel in a certain way. It should be something so it's not something you need to have to feel in a certain way. It should be something that is part of what you enjoy. It's part of what you share with your spouse. It's part of how you guys bond and connect, so that you don't get to that point where it becomes addictive, where if your spouse is not meeting, your spouse is suffering from a health challenge, for example, you can't control yourself. Or if your spouse just had a baby, you can't control yourself because you have to, that's not my problem. You're looking for another child. No, you have to come from that place where you view it from the right mind, with the right mindset. You are emotionally healthy, and then you have that understanding. You create that barrier. Second thing you need to learn, you need to read the laws. All right, there are very healthy books that tells you. I remember a book I read before I got married, and the book said something. It said you have to focus about satisfying your spouse. I didn't think about it like that, because I was thinking, oh, I've held myself this long. Oh, the moment on that night, I'm just going to fire on all cylinders. I wasn't thinking about what does she want. So that book just gave me a paradigm shift. I said, wow, that's true. You need to ask her, what does she want? How do you want it? And that switched me from a taker to a giver. And that completely changed the game for us. So very important for you to read some books that will help you tweak some of the beliefs that you don't even know you have, because beliefs are very subtle or very powerful. some of the limiting beliefs you have that you may not be aware of. So books are very important. Having a conversation with your spouse, but there are layers of conversation. I will say that to say this, so it's very good for you to have like preliminary conversation, maybe conversation like what are your expectations around this. But we always recommend have a discussions closer to when you are getting married, when it's hardcore. So hardcore, like how do you want it? Do you like B job? Don't you like B? Question like that will trigger emotional response. That's what we believe. Have those kind of conversations towards this. But you can have other conversations like, is there any sexual, any hindrance in you? Do you have any sexual, what do you call it now? Do you have any, are you impotent? Because you have to have those kind of conversations. Have you been raped in the past? You need to have such conversations because all those kind of play a role. But the wise thing to do is to have more emotionally charged conversation when the wedding date are set and things are moving down.
I like the point you started with, which is about being emotionally healthy. Because when you get to that point, then I think you are more ready to discuss certain things when you get into a relationship. Okay, because like the topic, what you were saying about were you raped, okay, in the past, these are things that you should come forward with. If you're in a relationship with someone, you don't wait for him to start asking that or discovering it later. I had this conversation with a young man, and the lady had some health issues which would have influenced his decision on going ahead with the relationship, and she held back. Now, you don't hold back if you know that, okay, I am valuable, I am lovable. It's unfortunate that this situation happened, but I see myself as a survivor. I survived rape. Okay, so I'm going to be vulnerable to share with you so I don't mislead you. And then we get into the relationship and you're surprised. And if he goes, it's going to be painful. It's going to be heartbreaking. But hey, you will heal. And you'll find someone who would accept you and cherish you for the quality he sees in you. Yes.
Wow, you've actually said solid points now, because I've discussed with people who have had issues in their sexual relationship because they didn't know that they've not healed from the past experience. And the man or the husband, or the wife, were not aware that they had that experience, and it came as a surprise, in fact. So that's a good point you've raised. And Victor, you made solid point that obviously you were clear enough, and I'm sure that our audience, they've listened to you and they will take this on board. Thank you so much. You were talking about books, and I was thinking, I remembered I read a lot. I read one book, Intended for Pleasure. I read The Act of Marriage by Tim LaHaye. And what you said, it changed my view. And I started thinking when I get married, I would try my best to satisfy my spouse, because I realized that, in fact, the most important sex organ is the mind. Every man listening to me, if you cannot control your sexual desire during sex based on your mind, you will always fall your wife's hand. And that's why we are doing this. You need to program your mind when it's all about time to get to the peak. You tell yourself, no, I'm not going there. My mission is not yet accomplished, because your focus is to help her achieve her own goal. And for the women, always remember, your mind is also the most important part of you to enjoy the process, because you have to also think through what is going on in your body. And if you're not getting it, you're telling him, oh boy, that part you're touching is not the right, you're not pressing the right chord. That conversation helps the process to be more enjoyable. We can go on, and thank God this program is for a month, so we've got more conversations to have. Someone asked a question here, and I'm going to put it to you, Victor and Chidi. Dozie, he's saying, what happens to those that don't read or can't read? Oh,
Chidi. YouTube videos.
Yes, some people don't like reading.
Yes.
Okay, but they can come on your your YouTube.
Yep.
You've got a lot of content there that will save a lot of relationships.
Yep.
Okay, so even if you don't like reading, then you kind of explore. I mean, it's about finding what works for you, but as much as possible, what is important is the knowledge that you get the right information.
Fantastic. So if you are constantly on the move, you can't carry a book with you. YouTube videos or podcasts. All right, just plug something in your ear. You're learning, but make sure you enter the right channel because not everyone who is sharing the right information. So just connect with a YouTube channel like this and just put it on autoplay or go to the playlist and just listen on and on like that. And that's one of the ways where you can get information.
Thank you. I think we've said a lot and questions are coming up. So we'll be doing the answers to questions now. I've got one here sent to me on my phone and I've got one popping up here. Someone is saying they've gone far in the relationship. Family members have agreed. The marriage should proceed. Then comes the question, are you impotent? And the answer is yes. How do you handle this situation? Flashing the question to you.
Oh, that's a very good question. So, are you impotent? Yes. And the question is yes. So the question now is, it's very good that you asked that question. One. Number two, it's good that the person is honest with you, right? Because if the person is not honest, then after the marriage can be null and void, right? Because it's based on deceit. Okay. So the question now is, what do you want to do with that information? Do you want to go ahead? Do you want to try to treat it before you get married? All right. So I would recommend put anything on hold and try to treat it, because impotency, depending on the type it is, there are treatments out there that can rectify this issue. All right. So you want to seek medical help at this point to know the severity of the matter. How we like to talk about what we call informed decision. So the more information you have around it, the more you know what you're getting into. So seek medical help. It might be the type that can be addressed. All right. It might not be. It might be the type that can be addressed. So you can put a stop to the wedding and address this before you go in. And that's one key thing we will always recommend.
But I must commend him for speaking up, because we've seen this where someone didn't speak up. What happened to him was that he had an accident that affected things down there. Okay, and he didn't tell her. He knew he wasn't feeling his manhood, and he just wouldn't tell her. That's something anyone should know. And then they got married, and he wouldn't want to be intimate with her. It took a while, but fortunately he opened up, and then they realized that with medical help it could be treated. Okay, so I must commend him for opening up, and then by all means seek medical help.
Yeah, thank you.
The decision is yours going forward.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answers. The other thing I also want to say is that you might think you're not impotent, but if you have health issues that are chronic, like diabetes, health issues that could impact on the quality of your relationship, especially your sexual relationship with your spouse, what Victor said before is key here. You have to have those kind of conversations, and if possible, seek medical advice, to know what you're going into, and to also know what your spouse is getting himself or herself involved in. It is not good to come into marriage and you have some kind of surprises. It could ruin the marriage for life, and the person will not trust you at all. Please, if you have any question, please keep your questions coming. We have few minutes before we wrap up this conversation today. We don't want to unveil everything here. We have more coming. And in fact, we've said it before, we'll send a link because we want only those who are really, really interested in this, who have registered for it, to have that exclusive conversation about sexual intimacy in marriage. In fact, we are doing couple sex life, and you will really enjoy that. All right, so let me ask the last question now. Someone says, I have a married friend whose husband does not always initiate sex with her, and he can't go a long time without having sex. He can go a long time without having sex with her, and it's a big problem for her. She has tried talking to him about it, but all to no avail. He has been like this since they got married 4 years ago. She hasn't been happy. What do you advise her to do? How can she get the husband to become more emotionally and sexually available? Wow.
Okay, so because we don't know the full detail, we're going to give a generic feedback in this regard, because we don't know if he has health issues, which is something she may want to find out. She might need to create emotional safety. All right, that's what we talked about at the beginning. That emotional safety, people may not be forthcoming with information that they know that you might not react well to. I mean, when we're much younger, we also know that there are some things that if you tell your parents, they will freak out. All right, so the same thing happens in marriage as well. You know that your spouse cannot handle this information. So she's pressuring you, but you are looking at her from the corner of your eye. Can I really tell you? So you must create that ambience, that kind of emotional safety where your spouse can comfort with, because I'm sure he will know what is happening to his body. It might be emotional. It might be just expressing midlife crisis. All right, so he's losing appetite about things like that, and he's worried about, is this what my life is about? So he might not be thinking about you. It might just be, an emotional issue. So he might need to seek some medical help. So you try to pray about it, try to create an emotional safe net, all right, for him to be able to share. Very important, so he can come forward with what he knows. If he has people that he really respects, that he wouldn't mind you bringing some very personal things to, you might want to discuss with that person, the kind of person that has the kind of wisdom to handle this, because men don't open up to every man, to every person. So you need to know that if that person is someone that he might not be happy, but you wouldn't mind the person knowing. All right. So like a mentor that he looks up to, that is also vulnerable. So anyway, very important for you to be able to bring that up to that person, and the person can weigh in without sharing that you had a conversation with. All right. So that person can now, find a way with wisdom to connect with him. Very, very important. So don't focus on only your own need. Let's know if there's a problem that we need to help you with this case. And then those are some of the things I can share.
Yeah, I think you've made solid points. I think from my point of view, I could say that there is always a root cause to this kind of problem.
Yeah.
It could be a biological problem that he has not been able to express to the wife. It could be a psychological problem. It could be a relational problem. Maybe there's something about the wife that he is not happy about. And the question says he's been like this for 4 years, they've been married. So there could be something there that she needs to explore. And to explore it, like you said, she needs a third party. That third party could be an expert, someone like a counselor, or someone who is good at looking at things from an unbiased point of view, to be able to explore the root cause of it. It could be that the person has had bad experience in the past. In fact, when we talk about rape, we look at women as these survivors, if I use the word. Some men have been exposed to that. It could also be that he has a way of helping himself. If a man has an addiction in terms of masturbation and pornography, then having sexual relationship with the wife could be a problem. So whoever has this kind of issue, whether for a man or a woman, please speak about it, seek help. Don't die in silence. There is always solution to problems like this. We are wrapping up now. I don't know if anyone has any question. Just drop your question or your comments on the chat box. Tell us, have you learned anything from this conversation? Is there anything you would want us to talk about going forward? Do you have any what do you say to our guests? Because they've been awesome, they've been wonderful. Victor and Chidi, I would like you guys to give us your take-home point before we end this call. I just wanted us to carry on, but we have to end it here. Just tell us one or two things for our audience to go home with.
Okay. We've just spoken about having, optimum sexual experience. So one thing I want to put out there is, do not internalize any problem, any situation, any issue. Do not internalize it. Express it. Feel free to share how you feel. That would help you achieve optimum sexual experience.
For singles, I would say investigate before you affectionate. All right. Get to know what you are getting into. Very important. All right. Create an ambience where you guys can talk about some certain things. For married couples, I also emphasize creating that ambience, right? Because your husband may be husband, is still a man, he's still a human being, and people don't share when they don't feel safe. All right, create that ambience for your wife, create that ambience for your husband as well. Very important, because once you guys are closely emotionally knit, sexual intimacy works better. All right.
Wow, thank you so much, Chidi and Victor, Dr. Victor. I always forget that.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate that.
But please, let's give them a virtual round of applause or thumbs up, whatever you can. Thank them for coming up to share their wealth of experience with us. You can follow them on all their social media handles, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, Foundation for Family Affairs. Thank you, guys. Hope to see you next time. Yes, we've had this conversation about sex, and we've said that, wow, sexual intimacy is very wonderful. From my experience and from my knowledge, I will tell you the truth. Sex is a beautiful thing. It is one of the best physical expressions you could have within the confines of marriage, all things being equal. Today, we've talked about how you can build that intimacy with your spouse. And we believe that it's possible. You have to be intentional about it. You have to do what you need to do to make it happen. So thank you guys for joining this conversation. In case you're new on our channel, please would ask that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on your notification bell so you know when we put our content out there. And for those of you that are willing to come for our next event, we'll be sending you a form on this link after now, a link on this video after now, so that you can actually subscribe or you can actually fill the form and get ready for our event next week. Until we come your way once again, it is bye from us. Thank you.